Not quite yet.
Oh,
Kevin, maybe, I mean, just talk about that, the grind that today was. I'd be curious to know, I know you won't give us all the details, but how much of a grind it was from last night with Toffoli to where you got to today?
well, it's a grind for a couple of days, like it's never a trade deadline day when you're, trying to do different things. It's trade deadline week, and, in our case, it's trade deadline 2 months, it's, or a month. It's one of those things where, you start talking and looking and, talking to managers and trying to, understand who may be available, because you got lots of teams obviously that are, still in the hunt and, making tough decisions on their roster to make players available. And that's kind of essentially what happened, with Toffoli, is he became a player that was, made aware that was readily available, later in this whole process.
How different was the deal when it was completed compared to the pieces you started talking about at the outset?
Not much, not very. I think, we're pretty aggressive, right from the start. And, I think in a lot of these situations, you spend a lot of time in your own room talking about, okay, what are we prepared to do? And then what are we prepared not to do? And you put it out there, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, you have to kind of work within those guidelines, or else you just, you can't operate.
Yeah, maybe I'll dovetail off that. Was part of the decision not to, or try not to trade prospects and young players, or was that all, was it all on the table?
Yeah, no, it was all on the table, but, there really wasn't, wasn't the opportunity to, to get into, different things like that, or there wasn't a need to.
When did you make the decision to sort of go, I guess, all in, if we want to use that term?
I sat down, with Helly and Scheif and, just the different things that we did this summer, and again, we as an organization, have been all in, and we're going to continue to be all in. And, it's all about winning. It has been since the very first day that, Mark, sat here, when the franchise first relocated. And, every decision we make, everything we do, it has a purpose in mind to ultimately try and win. And, again, when you have different opportunities and different things, that might become available, and you feel that you're, it's going to make your team better, then, you have to try and act. And we felt, obviously, getting, Monty back when we did, that we needed to act decisively. And then, these opportunities, presented themselves. Obviously, the deadline does become a deadline, and, that's when things do start to always heat up. And even today, you had two players, you have to do it on a day when you don't have to do anything to the rosters. It expands. So that's why trade deadlines, kind of culminate to the, to the point here. But it's a long lead up, to the frenzied finish.
And just maybe leading up to this, what did you hear? I don't know if you canvassed the players or if the players came knocking on your door a little bit, but I mean, you could tell, the standings, the old Bill Parcells quote about, you are what the record says you are. Well, you guys are quite high and all that. Was there more of a sense that, this team felt like it's connected and that, and you could go ahead this year?
Yeah, I think, again, we got a lot of work ahead of us, I think that's still, ultimately what all the players say and what we say to the players, and even when we, talk, and it's, and the things have to fit. If you're going to do something, they have to fit, it's not about the name, on the back of the jersey that, is the most exciting thing. It's how that player plays and how that, that player fits into your, into your lineup. And I talk to players, all the time, not necessarily in a formal fashion, but, in an informal fashion. And, we talk back and forth about different things, talk back and forth about different players, different plays, those kind of things. And, you just get a feel for, where the their heads are at, but ultimately they know it's on them. They got to play, they got to perform. And that's the exciting thing. From an organization perspective, you just want to put them in the best spot that they can to win. And hopefully we've done that.
Yeah, Kevin, we've seen you specifically go out and address maybe positions of need. Sean would be the first example of that, and he checked off a lot of boxes,
Yeah.
and we've sort of seen how well that's played out. These two trades today seem, again, very targeted at specific areas. Like when you went into today, was it a right winger and a right shot D that were kind of high on your priority list?
Well, again, I think that you're trying to find the right fits. And again, would we have gone for a left shot D if there was a better? I don't know. It's hard to say. But these are the things that we identified. It was really important, and sometimes that those things aren't available. It's really important. We found some players that did have good playoff experience as well. And with Toffoli, you're getting a Stanley Cup champion. That's going to come into that room and know the grind that it takes. To win. He's connected with a lot of the guys, within the room that, we brought in over the course of time or whatever. And, so there's some familiarity there, which, essentially, I think will be very, very important. Unfortunately, they don't have the luxury that Sean had and Monahan had coming in, as early as he did. But, I think that, because they have familiarity with some players, I do think, that's going to, help. So, at the end of the day, we found a way to, maneuver the cap. We found a way to maneuver, with some picks, and excited about, the acquisitions here moving forward.
I wanted to ask you about Colin Miller. He's a guy you obviously saw a lot of in 2018.
Yes.
He was on that Vegas team, and that was his career year. He was doing a lot of original misfit, a lot of great things. What about him kind of makes him a real good fit?
Well, again, he has a lot of playoff experience. Certainly when I talked to him just several minutes ago, we talked about that. Again, he's got a big shot. He moves real well. He's got that experience. He's got that pedigree. So those are all things that, I think, Bones, had some people that he knew in Dallas, and talked to them about, just, their experiences with him. And even like more importantly, like both guys are great people, and that's that's a big check mark for us as well.
And last one from me, but when you acquired Sean, I think at the time it may have been you or Rick that talked about, it's another tool in the toolbox. Now that the trade deadline's over, have you ever had a toolbox quite like this one in your time here in Winnipeg? Well,
it's going to take every tool in that toolbox, to get us to what we want to get accomplished, it was. You see over the course of time, teams that are fortunate enough to go long and deep into the playoffs, sometimes it's a battle of attrition, and it's, you need those guys. And it's going to be important that every player down the stretch feels connected as well, too. I talked to Bones about that, this afternoon after the deadline. And we've got a good group here. And one thing that, we're very cognizant of, and even when I talked to the players, like they wanted to make sure that we brought in good people. They wanted to make sure that, that this group, stays tight and stays connected, because that was important to them as well. So, I did get a couple of texts here, after we made the Toffoli trade there, today before the guys went on the ice out in Seattle, and, they're excited. So that's, as a manager, that's what you can do, and, you hope to do so. But again, today's a day, it's about the games, and it's about the hard work, and it's going to be about the sacrifice, and it's going to be about having to play the right way for us to be successful.
I don't expect you to rank today's trade deadline moves, but can you just compare your approach and results maybe to other ones?
Well, I think that, again, there was some, maybe not quite the same similarities, some similarities to when we acquired Stas, because, Stas, obviously, Tyler might have been out there in the media a little bit more, but, Stas wasn't. So, that was kind of sneaky good. And I kind of really enjoyed, when it broke and no one else knew about it. But, I didn't know that, Tyler was going to be, for sure available up until just recently. So, no, not today. We talked last night. Obviously, he was held out for, the New Jersey reasons there yesterday. But, so we had conversations, pretty much throughout the day. I'm trying to think, when I lost track of my days, if it started the day before or if it started yesterday. Certainly yesterday was all day. I can't remember if it actually was the day before. But anyway, it was a sleepless night for sure. And, this morning, a little bit back and forth, and, got it all done.
Were you as aggressive as you've ever been because of the team you've got?
Oh, I think there's probably times, actually, I would say we've been even more aggressive and maybe couldn't get something done. Like I remember the one trade deadline where, we were looking for, looking to upgrade on our defense and find a defenseman. And I actually, I threw out 2 first-rounders to one team if we could get the deal done, and unfortunately that, they ended up not trading that player. So and that went right down to the wire. So like, those are things that, again, really, those things make you nervous too, because, when you're in a situation like we were today and the timing of the Toffoli deal, like if you don't get that done, then what, and that's the hard part. Like that's the, the nerve-wracking part of it as a general manager when, you're deep into a deal, but, might not have a plan B.
Say who that was?
What's that?
Say who that defenseman was?
No.
Some swings that you took this year too that couldn't connect? Was it safe to say, or?
No, again, I don't think so. I think, we were pretty calculated as to, what we were, going to be, real deep in on. And, that's why you probably didn't hear my name out there much and probably thought you guys were going to have a snooze fest today.
Yeah.
And the what?
Born in on Crosby.
Who's that player?
One last one. What stands out about what your Western Conference rivals have done? Does one stand out?
Yeah, I don't know. I think obviously we knew going in the West was tough. We knew coming out the West was going to be tougher. But that's hockey, and that's the exciting part. The thing that you have to worry about, is again, you have to get there. You have to, get there playing the game that you want to play and the game that is your identity, and the rest will take care of itself.
I want to ask you about sort of the timing of the 2 deals today. Certainly you're talking to the same team. Was there a sense that you had to reassess? Were there other players you were interested in, or was it just ease of bookkeeping on your part?
Yeah, no, they were 2 separate deals. Like I didn't want to cloud the first one with trying to do the second one, in there. I wasn't trying to, get, value or anything like that, so to speak. I wanted to make sure that both deals were standing on their own so that, again, one didn't kind of complicate the other. So when you're dealing, with those kind of things, it does become tricky. And, again, fortunate that we were able to, to make those 2 transactions.
So they were sort of developing in parallel, or one after the other?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think my brain can work that good. So it was, it was kind of one after the other, and kind of one shifted and obviously focused on the other at the appropriate time.
Are you willing to name the year you were
No.
referencing earlier? With the players that you've acquired over the years, you do so much personal homework on these guys, right? You want good fits as people too. Tyler Toffoli would have so many touch points. Would you go to your players like a Monahan who knew him as a junior, or the various Kings, or who do you tap for a moment?
Yeah, so again, you got to be careful with that too, because if you don't get the player, you don't. It's hard to throw players' names out there. This is the people business still too. It's hard to put different people in those kind of situations. But again, you every day is a learning experience in this league. You're always gaining information on people, and different people in the industry that maybe have had certain players, or coached them or managed them or that, and aren't affiliated with other teams anymore. So you do reach out to them. You do kind of check under the hood, so to speak, to see what they're thinking or what they believe, and they can go far back as junior too. There's no question, but again, it just depends, on the network that that you have, and that's what scouts are for too. Like they don't just go to the games, to watch. They go to the games to to listen, to to learn, and they're tasked with finding out things that the average fan maybe doesn't find out, and that's important as well.
Would you have had a chance to talk to Nate Schmidt about Miller, who he's played with before?
Yeah, no, again, they're out in Seattle, I'm here. So it's, it becomes, it becomes a timing thing too. Like, there's a lot of periods of time where your phone is just kind of going different, crazy. And So you don't have a lot of time to, sometimes you got to dive into a situation, dive out, whether it's get in with your scouts and then separate yourself, but, the scouts do a great job, during this time as well. Like, there's a lot of times where I'll leave the room and, like they're tasked with, some sort of assignment or something. So they're working hard. So there's lots of moving parts all the time. It's not just sitting and, you see the war room shot or something like that, but, a lot of times there's guys coming in, guys coming out, different meetings going on at different times. And, sometimes it'll be Larry Zinger and I, huddling in an office and closed door and, kind of like getting to brass tacks, like, okay, like we're going to make this offer, stuff like that, you just kind of, before you know it, the clock is striking, 2 and you're like, where did it go?
Lots there, but there's one question I got to ask you today, and it's about Brian Little.
Yeah.
It's 2 years ago, I think he waived his no trade to move, which
Yeah.
takes him out of LTI, gives you a chance to accrue cap space. I don't know if that was a simple moment for him, but it seems selfless and giving. I'm wondering what your thoughts are.
You know what? And we referenced it today, actually. Larry Simmons and I, were talking about it in the greater group with the pro scouts, and actually I think Mark Chipman was even in there as well. At that time, it is obviously I think the trades are done, but we wouldn't have been able to be in the situation that we're in to accrue cap space, if it weren't for Brian doing that, and it brings you back. We still have a picture, in the dressing room of the outdoor game goal that he scored. Like he's a big part of this organization, and he's always going to be a big part of this organization. And I was in Barrie, a couple weeks ago. Actually, Colby Barlow was playing there, so I went to watch, and and it's great to see his name up there, and the records that he has, and it brings back what a great what a great Jet he was, for not only on the ice but off the ice as well.
Kevin, Tyler was saying is that he probably wouldn't join the team until would join the team in Winnipeg. So can you fill in the blanks in terms of details as to, like, give us clarity as to when he would actually be able to suit up for the team?
So I haven't talked to the travel people, but I think given the logistics of where we are back to back, I'm assuming he's flying, and I guess both of them now will be flying into into Winnipeg here probably tomorrow, or what it was today. Today's Friday. So Saturday or Sunday, and get going as soon as the team comes back.
This question relates to this expanded playoff roster at Black Aces and depth farther out. What is the latest on Rutger McGroarty about what the immediate weeks might hold?
Yeah, so obviously his team is entering into the playoffs here shortly, and actually had a conversation with his agent or representative a couple of days ago there. But we are a team that kind of stays back. Doesn't really. We go there to watch the game. We go there to say hello. We don't go there to talk business. We're there to support, our players and make sure that, their teams have the best, possible player in front of them, and not thinking about, the future. So again, we told the agent that, we'll have those conversations when, hopefully a little ways away yet, when Rutgers team, goes, far into the playoffs, but, we'll see how some things are at that point in time.
I imagine Salamonson would be in a similar boat as well.
As long as, I guess it's different for Europeans in the sense that as long as they're not part of the World Championship team, so you gotta, I guess, get that clarity. But yeah, so at some point in time when available, hopefully we can get him over here. I know that I think Jimmy Roy talked to him when he was over in Europe a couple of weeks ago there, and actually I think he brought it up, that he was pretty excited about the possibility of coming over here.
Just the last one for me, but you mentioned needing a lot of guys if you're going to go on a long run. So would you expand that to include guys like Villy and Kyle on the blue line, and guys like Axel and Dominic?
There's no magic number, but like I think you need 10 defensemen that can play in the NHL in your organization. I think that is something, and I think we're very, very fortunate that we have a player like Capel as well that was part of the Jets for such a period of time last year. But again, those guys are important, and as an organization here, like. You have to do what you can, at the deadline here to make sure that you have as much depth as you possibly can. Obviously cap space hurts some teams in different things like that. We were fortunate that we had the space available.
It's been referenced last season how you guys started off well and then faltered and just barely made it into the playoffs. So this season, when you see how the team has continued to win, and now you've got these 2 extra players, I mean, how is your optimism level?
Well, again, one thing that, again, you'll hear me talk about it ad nauseum is fit, and I think if you can get players that fit, then hopefully you can have, good continued results. And so we need to do a good job of helping these players fit in now and making them feel comfortable in this short period of time that you have. But again, I think, it comes down to one thing. You have to play the right way. And, and that's, we have to play a certain way to be successful. And it's going to be up to the coaches to bring those players up to speed as quickly as they can to, get them understanding, what that actually means.
Today's not a success unless you, win a round or 3?
Today's a trade deadline day. Tonight's the game. Tomorrow's another game. There's no parades. There's no banners. There's no nothing. There's a sigh of relief that 2 o'clock is come and gone. And again, we made the moves we felt we wanted to make, and we're going to go from there. But the real work's ahead of us.
And was the retention done just in case on Toffoli's deal?
No, it's deliberate.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Like you were just talking earlier about the move maybe not run parallel.
Yeah. Well, again, that's partially why you don't want to complicate some things as well. Like when you're dealing with retention, and you're still, you're in a negotiation for assets. You're trying to protect, certain assets like obviously our second pick this year is valuable. So those are things that you have to kind of play a little poker.
Shall we just to go off of one of Paul's questions about
Yeah.
the conference as a whole? We know how tight it is. We've seen all the moves that got made and the team trying to bolster the roster. How right now do you describe the Western Conference
Wild.
as a whole?
Wild West.
Do you have updates on Gabriel?
What's that, sorry?
Do you have updates on Gabriel Velarde's?
I don't personally have, the medical updates there. I think he was actually, here working out, today and stuff like that. But I don't personally have a timeline of when we're practicing or when he's going to be back on the ice. Awesome. Thanks.